Hey, everybody, welcome back to Top 3. I'm Marcia O'Connor, CEO and founder of the O'Connor Group. We are an outsourced HR, outsourced recruiting company based here in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. On a nice rainy day, I am very fortunate to have a dear friend of mine. Her name is Theresa Stockdale, and she has an amazing business that we're going to go into a little bit about. But first, I'm going to have her introduce herself and talk a little bit of how she basically and what she does right now. So, Theresa, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Marcia. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here and to be speaking with you, and I think I'll learn a lot through this conversation as well. I'm in Chester County, Pennsylvania, more specifically in the Downingtown area. I started my own business just about a year ago, and so it's been a bit of a journey. I started with a lot of courage, and I'm building up my confidence now. What I'm really doing is helping professionals show up with authenticity and confidence in virtual meetings and helping them with those soft skills. I've been doing that since 2018, since before the pandemic. And I figured I should probably keep doing that because I see more and more every day a need for people to learn how to do this well.
Absolutely. I think that's even getting bigger. So it's called Stockdale Consulting. And obviously I love your tagline on LinkedIn where it says, I help people show up with authenticity and confidence. And I think sometimes that is sometimes so easy to say, but so hard to do. So what was it that one thing in 2022 had said, I'm going to go on my own and do this? What was that?
Oh, that's a great question. I have really, really enjoyed working with people over the years to learn to show up. So I started working alongside the former CEO of Rosetta Stone, Tom Adams, to build this MBA program. And one of the biggest things that I did was teach people how to interact with applicants for this program online. And I loved hiring the people who would conduct these interviews, and I loved teaching them, and I loved the conversations with potential applicants. I conducted over 1,000 interviews myself. And as time went on, I continued to delve more and more into the business that I was in. And I was feeling kind of lonely, and I was missing the interaction, and I was missing the fun of meeting people and training them. How do you show up? And teaching them some of those softer skills. How do you follow up? I really, really enjoyed it. And at a certain point, the CEO that I worked with brought in his favorite trainer from Rosetta Stone to create training to teach people what I'm doing. And I thought, this is what I should be doing. This is what I love doing. So I spoke with the CEO and the people at my company and let them know that I was taking this leap.
So it's not easy to take that leap. It's actually much harder than people think. And then what were the top 3 reasons why at that time in your life, it was like, I'm ready to do a leap?
Well, I believe the biggest one is that I wasn't finding the joy in my work anymore. I was working 60 to 80 hours a week, and this was a startup, and I completely believed in the company, but there are a lot of growing pains with a startup, and I was starting to have to kind of compromise, make decisions that would cause me to compromise my integrity. Ask people to work on things that I didn't believe would make a difference. And it's really hard to get me to do that. So I think the number one thing is that I wanted to find the joy in my work again. Number 2, I didn't want to keep working 80 hours a week. I had sacrificed my freedom, my fitness, my family, my friends. I'd made a lot of sacrifices to keep working in the role that I was working in and to do it well. The 3rd reason is I wanted to be earning money for myself. I just figured I can do this for myself instead of working so hard for somebody else.
I agree with number three in particular. Like, obviously, you work really hard. I work just as hard, if not harder, than I worked when I worked for somebody else. I would say number two, though, be careful. It's been a year into it. I can tell you probably that I still work quite a few hours. And I have a whole team. I have a leadership team. I have an assistant and all too now. You got to, like, I know I'm a workaholic and my whole family tells me that, but I can tell you, I love what I do. I love making a difference and all that stuff. So it's hard for me to turn it off. So be careful about that because you're at that point, you're still new. It's depending how big you want to become. And is it going to be more of a quality of life entrepreneurship journey, or is it going to be a building entrepreneurship journey? And I think sometimes you have to come into a place where, as an entrepreneur, you have to make that decision pretty much usually within the first 5 years, because you're either going to have a lot of people that want to have growth, or you're going to have people that are very happy where they're at and we're content and we're all doing well. And that's great. Everybody has 40-hour work weeks and things are good and you have your life and we're making money. Some people like that, but then I find entrepreneurs usually have employees that want to do more and more. What's next for me? And you only have so many roles, so it's a fine line. And so be careful, be cautious of your time, because I know you've only been a year into it. So that would be my only guidance for you for that.
I really appreciate that guidance because I am a workaholic, and I love working, and I could spend 80 hours a week. So every day, every day I write out the same values every morning to remind me of what those values are, so that I don't tip back over into working all the time.
Oh, good for you. What are those values? Share with us what those are.
They all start with an F: freedom, faith, family, finances, fitness, friends. Many of these are the things that I feel like I ignored. And so I ask myself the question several times a day. Am I living those values? I love to learn. I've been delving into AI courses constantly. And I see that happening a little too much. So I'm stopping to ask again, will this course really align with what I want to do? Does it align with that freedom that I want? And I'm saying no to more things than I used to.
Good for you. How do you, though, with starting a business, I think it's one of the biggest obstacles for a lot of people to figure out, how do I get business? How do I bring the sales in? How do I make the phone ring? What do you think the top 3 success ways of basically getting business in the door has been for you?
Number one is building an email list, getting that email list out there, offering a great freebie. One of the things that I decided to do, and I still think is kind of risky, I'm interested in your thoughts on this, but like I mentioned, I've been learning a lot about ChatGPT and how to use it. And so I've offered several free webinars on how to use generative AI. Sometimes I'll call it an AI chatbot.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm in several networking groups where people want to attend that for free. And at the end, I'll let them know that my main thing is teaching people how to show up. So that's another way that I've done it. I was kind of lucky when I left my company. The first client that I had was my former employer. So I've had to work through this process of letting go and choosing what I think would work well for me instead of choosing what was right in front of me.
Oh, good philosophy. I like that a lot. And now, in regards to what you do, is there a certain demographics of individual that you work best with? Is it more people just graduating from college, or is it people and they're millennials? I mean, we're in 5 different generations right now. I imagine there's some kind of vibe of certain kind of groups that you work best in.
Marcia, I'm still sorting that out. So I'm really interested in your thoughts on that as well. I get the Wall Street Journal, and I believe it was in June, there was an article that said that the 2023 graduates are having trouble learning basic conversational skills at work and learning how to show up. I'm also in a group for women in venture and tech. And I've noticed time and time again, people will show up for a coffee chat and not have their camera turned on and just not realize so much of communication is visual. So that's a thing too that I thought, these are women mostly in their late 20s through their 50s. I also later today will be meeting with a woman who runs a trade association for virtual assistants. And she said her team really needs this. So she wants me to do a webinar for them. So I am still really thinking about this initially, and the way I still have myself positioned is a person who works with professionals on how to show up well with confidence and authenticity. But I think maybe I should narrow that down even a little bit further.
Yeah. Well, they do say the niches are in the riches are in the niches, kind of a deal. And I do believe that I've been out doing this for 16 years, and I have some people who are super successful. They've had that one product they've done very, very well at, and they become the master behind it. And I think if you're going to do consulting, be known for at least, between 1 to 3 things most, because I feel as if you're more than that, then it gets messy. And they're like, they do a bunch of things. I don't remember what. But if you're remembered for like 1, 2, or 3 things, people remember that. And that's your best way to many marketers out there. And they basically help sell it for you. But it's really figuring out what's needed. I can tell you, working with so many people, all different levels need this. I think now more than ever, I just started a nonprofit called Shadow Her. And I tried to have the confidence put into one of the courses because, as an entrepreneur, especially women, we always are telling ourselves, oh, that's enough. Oh, we shouldn't be doing this. Oh, we shouldn't be doing that. Well, I got to put Johnny's, food on the table for dinner. So, I'll give up tonight. I won't have to go to that, even though they should have been there. It's a fine line. And so having that confidence of saying, no, this is my goal. This is where I'm going. This is what I need to do. Like sort of move out of my way. So I think you're onto something that is really quite needed. I think the best thing is figuring out, that sales process and that marketing process.
I think you're right.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So tell me, when you started it now too, did you have an idea 5 years from now what this would look like and then what you would be doing within it?
Well, I have a dream. I think maybe that will shift, maybe it will change. But when I left where I was, 7 people that I work with contacted me and said, whatever you do next, I'd really like to be involved in it. And so it is in my mind that maybe I can build this model where the people that I've already trained and worked with, that I love working with, that I miss, I am a little lonely, that perhaps we can build something where we're working with people ops groups or these trade associations and find these audiences where I can bring on some of these people and say, okay, this is your account. This is a group for you to work with. So that's it. I'd love to find a way for people to join me, earn what they're worth, set their own hours, and help build something that we've already started building together.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's the fun part about it. It's also nerve-wracking. I remember I waited 3 years before I hired my first full-time employee. And it was nerve-wracking because here's this person that literally gave up a full-time job with full benefits, and I didn't have even benefits to offer her. And I just said, I could promise you you'll be busy, but if you could just work with me, we're going to make this all happen. And lo and behold, she was so great. She's still with me to this day. And she said, well, one thing you were right on is because you said I'd be busy and we're really busy. And I said, I told you that. And but just got to have a little faith. But she's learned so much from clients and backgrounds and industries. And it's really the journey along it. I would also suggest highly of working with other group of entrepreneurs that have just started within like the past 3 years, because it really helps you. If entrepreneurs out there, if you don't have a kumbaya group of entrepreneurs around you, you are really missing out. You can have your family and your friends, but if you don't have other entrepreneurs around you, you should always have at least 5 other entrepreneurs around you at all times that you can pick up the phone and have conversations with, or even set up a monthly call. I have a group of women entrepreneurs that we talk once a month, and there's only 6 of us. But the idea is that we share one good thing, one bad thing. It can be work or personal. And we get very, very deep. It's almost like therapy for all of us, but we're all entrepreneurs, so we sort of understand each other. But we all share our bits of advice of what we've gone through to help them get through that current situation. And we keep it all highly confidential, but when we're done, it's like a release for all of us, because sometimes you don't know who to go to. So if you're out there, I would highly suggest doing something like that. That's going to help you too, Theresa.
I hadn't thought of that. I mean, it makes sense, so I should. I also really admire that. I know you're a successful entrepreneur, 16 years, you're still doing that.
Oh,
So, it's a sage advice that I want to take.
Oh, I think it's actually, so there's different types. There's that 5 year, under 5 year of growth, mindset of like, who do I go to? What are we going to learn? Are you going to this? Are you going to this over here? And then you get to that point where you're more established, because each role is a little different. It's like a company. You build up to 25 employees. That company has its own culture. You build to 50 employees. It's a different kind of culture, similar, but changing. You move that 50 to 100, that's changing your culture again. And so you have to be careful, because sometimes the people that got you here at 25 isn't going to get you to that 100. And you need to be very cautious about that too, because it's not a personal decision, it's a business decision. And you need to make sure that you really understand that. And I think sometimes people take that for granted and think that I won't need his help. You constantly need levels of people around you each step every year along the way. And I'm very fortunate. The group I'm working with now, majority of them have been in business for about 10 years each. And so we all really understand each other, and we have that same ideas, and we're very blunt with each other too. So we trust each other to tell each other what we really probably need to hear, versus, your friends are going to be like, well, that sounds nice. And they're just trying to appease you. They don't know what they don't know. And having an understanding of other entrepreneurs is very helpful during your journey, all throughout your journey, actually. So very helpful for you, which is pretty cool. What other, in regards to what you do, and then how can we help you as Top 3 to basically, help get your word out about what you do?
Oh, I really appreciate that. I have a website. It's simple, Stockdale.consulting. So anybody can head over there and fill out a contact form. I'm in the process of putting up a great freebie for people. So that would be great when you meet with your clients, or people who are pursuing job opportunities that they're interested in through the O'Connor Group. If you see anybody that wants some help with this. And I think there's one area of people that I've been working with too. They're people, I've worked with a lot of people who have master's degrees, who kind of are still falling apart a little when it comes time for them to show up on camera. So just letting people know that that's normal, and this is the kind of thing you learn by doing. So I'm always willing to work with those people as well, just to help them out with that.
So that's a really good segment going into really fast. It's like you're finding out that people that have even like their MBAs and all, or a master's, really even need this, and they said they're falling apart. Why is that? Is it because of COVID? Is it something else? Is it too much stress going on at home and work? Walk me through that.
I think there are a few different reasons, and some of the people I've worked with even have PhDs and consider themselves to be extroverts. I think they feel like they're on this stage where everybody's watching them, and everybody's going to notice anything that could possibly go wrong, and and I think it's human nature to, very self-focused. How do I look? How do I sound? And feeling like people are looking at them a lot more than they are, and losing the purpose of the meetings that they're in, focusing on all of the wrong things. And I know when I started doing some of these MBA interviews, they were recorded, and I was shaking before every single one. And so I think anytime something is new, it's a little bit scary. Something that I think has happened over the years is too many people are feeling like they aren't seen in these virtual meetings. They feel like nobody notices them, or they feel like they're being talked over, or they're showing up, but they're showing up for something that they feel is boring, and they're getting distracted by multitasking and thinking nobody else notices it. And it's just this thing where people get in their heads. Nobody's taught us how do you show up and stay engaged and look engaged.
Yep. Yeah, it's crazy. I think you're right about that. I think people have missed that opportunity and missed that part. And it doesn't help by having a job coming out of college and not being in the office every day. Because when you're in the office every day, you pick up innuendos, you pick up how to talk with the water cooler, you pick up like, oh, I need to talk to that person. So how do I do that? Do I pick up the phone? Do I email them? Do I call? And everybody hides behind the computer. And I think fortunately there's a really good futurist out there, Rohit. It's got a long last name, starts with a B. But nonetheless, he was talking about in 2050, one of the things that people are going to be talking about the most is the impact of loneliness that we're going to have as a whole population in the world, because we're putting ourselves more into like a cave than basically coming out. And we, as you can know, because of COVID, people have missed being around people. Even the introverts still are, they would say they like being at home. I get that, but I also think they were not used to being home that much. So I think it's really coming out. I think you're on something in your business to really hit a whole world of individuals, because I can tell you first-time managers have gone from COVID now to managing, but managing on a hybrid basis. And a lot of times not even seeing these people, a lot different than basically going down the room, going down the hallway and saying, hey, can we talk and have a quick meeting about this? This was incorrect. So I think we're changing all that. Whole paradigm shift is happening around work and all too. So a lot of opportunity there for sure. And in regards to, you as a this is hard because it's a lot of work, a lot of time and effort. How do you take care of you, Theresa?
Well, some of it is by getting up, writing out those values, and I start to write down my non-negotiables for the day. So one of them is movement. So I make sure that I'm getting the movement in that I need to get in during the day. Another one is reading. And I think for me, I just creating that list every morning. What am I reading today? Then I'm going to sit down and do that. And so I'm blocking out time for things like this. I also sign up for a few momentum sessions each week, which is when a group of people block off an hour, show up to a Zoom meeting, announce what they want to get done, and then are quiet for the whole time. So it's that accountability space. Another thing that I've been doing on Sundays, because I'm trying to make sure that I eat healthier, is taking the time to plan out my meals for the week. I've never done that before. So I'm getting my shopping done. And so I'm finding new things to look forward to.
Good.
Wow.
Yeah, that helps a lot. You have to have some kind of balance in your life too. So I'm glad you're doing that. And then if I had a choice of reading between listening to an audible or reading an actual book with your fingers, what do you prefer?
I tend to prefer Audible. But the reason I'm doing the book with my hands is I just believe there's something that goes on with your brain. I care a lot about brain health. I'm in my 50s now. I care about it. And this is why I believe so strongly in AI. I really believe that investing in AI can help us as we age stay sharper. I feel like it can be a wonderful companion for us to stay sharp and stay relevant. I care a lot about staying relevant. So to me, just the connection between the brain, the book, the words that I'm reading, and maybe even the joy that I feel once I physically close that book and recognize I've done this, I've gotten something out of it. So I see it as very important for me to do that.
I agree. You have to do that. I think it's really important. I do both. I like the hands, but I also like listening. I'm traveling a lot, so I'm always listening to a book. And someone's like, "Wait, you listen to a podcast or a book?" And I was like, "Well, actually, the first half hour was a book. The second half hour was a book. I just love to learn." And I think you'll find that too with true entrepreneurs. They love to learn, and they love to learn more about themselves and other people. So, which is pretty cool. And then, what would you say? Just one tip, not to basically sell, all your services here, but what's that one tip for people to get better with their own confidence?
I think with their own confidence, if we speak about it in the context that I work, is, how do you show up well in a virtual meeting? I actually think it would be to be aware of your posture, uh, sit up straight, make sure you have some lighting, and keep in mind that when you're doing that, it's showing so much respect for the person that you're talking with. It's doing something nice for somebody else, just showing up. And I think it gives us a lot of confidence when we know that what we're doing is respectful and honoring to our audience, because I find that so often, and increasingly so, people aren't doing that.
No.
So it's a very simple way to gain some confidence, is just to show up, sit up, and let people see you.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I think when I hear all that, when I see all that too, I notice that with a lot of people, they're looking down at me, and I'm like, oh my God, just invest in one of those things that pull your laptop up, and get a a keyboard, you know what I mean, and come out. You have to do that. It's much more easier having a conversation like this, and instead of like, how you doing down there? I'm like, oh, that's so annoying. And as a recruiter, I tell people all the time, like, please don't look down. Recruiters hate it. They absolutely hate it. So if you're going to have that one chance to make an impact, you want to make sure it's like face to face kind of a deal. I couldn't agree with you more. Or even show up, have your hair done, put lipstick on, something, put jewelry in. Oh my gosh, I've seen people come up in their pajamas sometimes. I'm like, serious? Are you for real? It doesn't look like you've come out of bed. And then sometimes I get really angry and I'll have a conversation with them afterwards. I'm like, you were talking to a client. You can't be doing that, and they don't think anything of it. They just like, oh, I guess you're right. You're like, frustrating. So your job is definitely going to be very interesting. I'm sure you're going to be very busy, very successful. Stockdale Consulting. If somebody, what is your website address?
Just Stockdale.consulting.
Perfect. Gotcha. Awesome, saucy. So Theresa, if anybody on the show wants to start a business, what's that one sentence of wisdom you would give them to say, go for it?
I would say think about anything where you have a 10% edge. That's it. I was reading this book that Amy Porterfield wrote called 2 Weeks Notice, and I really, really liked that. Where do you have a 10% edge? I really think anybody can do this, but you have to know that there's a struggle, a challenge out there, and then think about it. Where do I have that 10% edge? And then take it from there.
Yeah, that's what it really is. Actually comes down to, for sure. And then you become good at it and people refer business to you and the rest is history. So it's pretty cool. But have the operations inside work out well too, because you're good at actually the product. Just make sure you have the back end smooth and easy as well. Okay.
Yeah, it's a really, really good advice, and especially important for me.
Yeah, because a lot of people love doing what they do, but when it comes to money and invoicing and everything else and following up on that, you got to get that cash flow to go, because then you could do more knowing you have that cash flow going. And some people basically don't do that, or they wait until so much to get the invoices out, and then no one's looking over top of their shoulders like, are they getting in the money? How's that being processed and all too? And it's a lot different when you have 5 clients versus 100 or 200 clients a month sending you money. You know what I mean? So you got to make sure you have a system in place pretty quickly. So sounds good. Well, Theresa Stockdale from Stockdale Consulting, thank you so much for coming on our show today. I wish you the very best of luck. It is very hard to make that decision, especially in your 50s. It's not easy. I think it's great. I hope other women entrepreneurs could say there's no age out there as to when you have to start a company or it's too late. It's never too late. So forget Colonel Sanders when in his 60s, okay? And I think it's really important people realize that. But until next time, I just want to say thank you so much. Don't forget to like us out there and refer this out to other people. But we're going to make sure that entrepreneurs know basically there are mistakes and there are successes that happen out there and what we do and how we do it. And until next time, guys, top 3, keep on plugging out there. And this is Marcia O'Connor with the O'Connor Group at Top 3, and we'll see you soon.